The final episode of Attack on Titan's final season is finally here. The scene where Mikasa personally beheaded Eren was not too touching. Let's start with the team arriving on top of the stone giant. After defeating the receipt, no geeks were found. This also means that the main body can be hidden using a method similar to Warhammer Giant. But with such a large stock price, it is basically impossible to find an ontology. It's next door. Armin said that he wanted to make these countries worry about Alan's safety, so of course he did not agree. However, Armin believed that Alan could not be killed like this. On the contrary, they had a chance to find Alan after the stock price exploded. Lun and Jike's real bodies suddenly appeared from behind him with big mouths in the next second. At the same time, countless giant shapes immediately appeared on the giant skeleton. Rhino was surrounded, but fortunately, he promptly launched a thunder gun to help rescue the siege. Connie was extremely worried about Armin's safety. Levi calmly told him that if he was injured, his enormous power would definitely be activated. This means he is not injured like I am now. At this moment, everyone discovered that the giants in front of them were not innocent giants, because they seemed to be able to think. But Peak on the side slowly told the origin of these giants. It turns out that these giants are the 9 giants in history. Although it is unclear whether they have the consciousness of their successors or not, these giants can certainly be revived infinitely by using the power of the ancestral giants. Simply put, they have no chance of winning. Then, Peak put dynamite in his mouth and rushed straight into the ancestral giant's neck. Because his original purpose was to kill Attack on Titan to build the building, Peak was injured and was preparing to move forward as an employee when suddenly, a villain suddenly appeared and slapped his grandmother in the face again, causing the same thing to appear. Behind him is a crocodile. Fortunately, Captain Levi saved him in time and this prevented a tragedy from happening. Armin, who was eaten on the other side, found himself in an unfamiliar space, as small as the petroleum ether he saw before being eaten, suddenly feeling a profound helplessness. Because if we really need to keep moving forward like Eren said, then resistance is a noble will. Wait until it becomes clear that oil wants humanity to go extinct. Ima could not compare with them, could not resist at all. This made Armin extremely desperate. At this moment, a figure slowly appeared in front of Armin. This was the former supergiant captured by him, asking for Berto. At the same time, Bertolt's supergiant suddenly appeared and caught it without hesitation. Everyone knows that beheading someone you like is extremely happy. Beheaded by his favorite Sandy, perhaps the last tenderness in the world for Eren, the armored giant also had his head bitten off by the supergiant, but fortunately he was in time and pulled it out at the last moment. At this moment, the 2 people were hanging on the skeleton, falling into an extremely dangerous situation. Let him go quickly, perhaps he can become a giant wearing armor again. But Jean did not agree. Seeing more and more people around, the team is in danger of being wiped out. At the critical moment, Arnie actually arrived in time with the fake money. The 2 rode a flying giant and captured Reiner and the others safely. This flying giant was Falco's decision after everyone discussed. Divided into 2 groups, the aunt transformed into a giantess to rescue Almi. Leonard continued to think of ways to deal with Ellen. Upon hearing these words, Mikasa's eyes were filled with resistance. But now is clearly not the time to worry about Eren, so Falco returns to the future, and Arnie is returned to a higher stock price. He thought that with Renato's Warhammer, the giant himself could directly detonate the explosives, but suddenly countless curbs appeared in front of him. Fortunately for the giant, Peak had already stood up at this time. Although the giant in the car had relatively weak fighting power, it was a romantic existence with lasting power. As long as Peak did not die, it won't be a problem for him to transform 100 times. So Peak directly bore the wound with his body, burying a kind of blocking giant. On the other side, Arnie and the others are trying to catch up with the Minotaur that swallowed Armin. The Minotaur is extremely agile and with the other giants in the way, the rescue operation becomes difficult. The Minotaur ran madly towards Bertolt. Annie and the others also became worried. At this time, more and more people surrounding them. The captain on the other side looked at his injured leg, and only regretted why he couldn't help at the crucial moment. He suddenly thought of Captain Alvin and Han Kai. At the same time, Giant Almi opened his small eyes wide, preparing to speak to his body. He didn't understand why his body couldn't move. Was he dead? But the next second he felt something was wrong, because Armin held a handful of sand on the ground. If he was dead, how could he still have such clear contact? Right after that, he discovered that he had come to make labels again. At that moment, he slowly piled sand behind him, and at a glance he recognized Armin. The final season of Attack on Titan is about to end. Armin, the giant titan and Eren's teammate, Phil gradually reveal strange heads, and may die at the hands of Sanli. 10 years of agreement. Is this the ending you wanted? Telling the soldier's origins, his colleagues join forces with him to awaken the giants and successors of the past. This time, both Ryla and Annie had reached their limits. Seeing a large group of giants rushing toward them, Chen Liang and Bertol took the initiative to protect Ali and the others. In addition to Bertol, another group of people suddenly came to help, including the team, Lai Junshin, who shot him with a shot to the eye of the Minotaur. Sanli took the opportunity to act and successfully rescue Ming. From Armin's mouth, everyone knew that all of this was thanks to the weirdos, but looking at the weirdos in front of him still alive and welcoming him, Libel couldn't bear it anymore. Death stopped, taking the opportunity it rang loudly. Under the resistance of many giants, he successfully achieved a boom period. With a loud bang, the head of the ancestral giant slowly fell, but then a strange insect 5 meters thick suddenly appeared from the spine of the ancestral giant, the flame and dispersed it. The body of the giant ancestor was torn apart, and both Peak and Falco saw their relatives. Just when everyone thought they had successfully captured the landmark, Colin discovered that the strange insect was not dead. Ed is also alive. With Eren's appearance, a strange gas suddenly emitted from the strange insect's body, causing Wilson to cry, to the point that he suddenly and strongly ordered Peak to leave the money behind, fakes and returns to Falco's back, and declares that they must leave immediately because the gas can turn a Barrisan into an immaculate giant. In this way, Weird Buck led countless unsullied titans to rush towards Lena, but Lena's power simply could not stop the touch at the same time. Fortunately, Annie and Peak felt that they had temporarily vented take some of the burden off him. Arminger and Eren were currently fighting, but suddenly found themselves standing in front of a wooden house. It seemed that everything was a nightmare for her, because Eren happened to be chopping wood in front of her, looking at her see this warm scene. A scene. The 3D feeling was extremely unreal, so he stood up and leaned into his lover's arms. San-Zero knew that this was what Eren had passed on to him, and your goal was to make yourself forget him. 20 years after his death, he realized that everything Ed did was for himself. Eren's forgotten memories of life and death gradually become clearer. Have you ever asked him why he hit him in the first place, and why he hit him so hard? Eren embarrassedly told him that at the time he just wanted everyone to hate him. After deciding, Armin and Mikasa led everyone to defeat him, so that they could be molded into great heroes to save humanity, like this Titan War. Just like the Deba family. Eren also tells Armin that he will not kill 80% of the human team, but only 20%. Only then did he learn about the so-called future he saw when he touched the back of the Queen's hand during the investiture ceremony, and why his personality changed drastically. Along the way, no one could understand his hardship. Finally collapsed, because under the influence of the power of his ancestors, the past and future existed at the same time. He could not help but say that his brain had fled. Eren told 20 years that he really enjoyed it. Mikasa hopes that you are the only person in this life who still remembers his last moments 3 years after his death, and that he can still tell Armin that this day is almost over, and he will let Armin forget all these memories. When the dust settles after their death, they will have these memories for the foreseeable future. Looking at all the members standing neatly in front of them, perhaps this is their achievement. Time passes fast. In the blink of an eye, 3 years passed. The final battle between heaven and earth was called. Countless people lost their homes because of the landmark. The survivors unite out of fear of the world's revenge. As for the 3 pills, it was still customary to bring them to Eren's grave,